The longest passenger flight is a whopping 19-hour service on Singapore Airlines between Singapore and Newark, but how about a non-stop flight lasting an entire year? British aerospace company Prismatic is now working on a solar-powered drone that can stay airborne for an entire year without any need for maintenance. However, the Persistent High-Altitude Solar Aircraft, or FASA-35 for short, is not for passengers. In fact, it can only carry a payload of 15 kilograms, but it has the potential to replace satellites for communications in off-grid areas, for remote sensing, Earth observations, and surveillance of all kinds, including military. It's the most advanced of a new class of autonomous unmanned aerial vehicles, UAVs, better known as drones, and it should be ready for tests in 2019. What is the FASA-35? An ultra-lightweight carbon fiber drone weighing just 150 kilograms, FASA-35 will, the clue is in the name, have a huge 35-meter wingspan. It will have solar panels that replenish a rechargeable battery during sunlight hours, with new battery technology able to sustain FASA-35's flight path through the night, and for months on end, and possibly for a year. It's designed to fly at between 50 and 78 knots at an altitude of 55 to 70,000 feet, maintain the same position in all seasons, and cope with all kinds of wind issues. Who is making the FASA-35? Working on the FASA-35 with Hampshire-based Prismatic is leading UK aerospace and defence manufacturer BAE Systems, which will invest in the development and flight testing of drone, and help with the construction of 2 of the craft. Phase 8 is smaller test version of the FASA-35 concept that's already been successfully flown. This 12 kg drone flew for 75 minutes in December 2017, and then for 2 hours in January of this year. What is a solar HAL UAV? Solar High Altitude Long Endurance, HALE, UAVs have come as a result of efforts to develop a cheaper alternative to communication satellites, which cost many millions to both construct, and then to launch into orbit on top of a rocket. FASA-35 has the ability to revolutionize how we think about beyond line-of-sight communications, says Paul Brooks, founder and managing director of Prismatic. It's also about replacing the need by the oil and gas sector for regular and expensive helicopter flights, which are used to monitor critical infrastructure. In that capacity, HAL drones can be used for video, optical photography, thermal photography, and LiDAR. FASA-35 will be able to carry about 15 kilograms of communications or photographic gear and equipment. What are UAVs for? Self-piloted and completely autonomous, UAVs have 2 obvious uses. Persistent surveillance might sound rather alarming, but it's as much about tracking the movements of ships, inspecting traffic congestion, checking up on a pipeline, or monitoring forest fires, soil erosion and deforestation as it is about tracking troop movements or photographing military targets. That said, they certainly have defense applications as well, hence the involvement of BAE Systems in the FASA-35 project. UAVs can also be used for communications, swiftly delivering occasional or semi-permanent broadband access to remote areas not currently covered by satellites. For example, they could be used to bring communications to areas devastated by an earthquake, cyclone or tsunami, helping stricken populaces while also helping the emergency services to coordinate rescue and reconstruction efforts. Does FASA-35 have competitors? There are plenty, although the most famous, the Airbus-owned Kintic Zephyr S, is designed to be the missing link between drones and satellites, a high-altitude pseudo-satellite, HAPS. A HAPS is a platform that floats or flies at high altitude like an airplane, about 12 miles up, but which operates more like a satellite. They can be used for monitoring and surveillance, communicating with both satellites in space and much smaller drones below. The UK military owns 3 Kintic Zephyr drones, which are being used for persistent surveillance trials. The Kintic Zephyr S is a solar electric HAPS that's designed to eventually fly for months at a time. The 14 days it flew for in July of this year is a new world flight endurance record for an aircraft without refueling. Many of the management team at Prismatic, makers of the FASA-35, previously worked on the Kintic Zephyr. Stratabus. Another contender is Thales Alenia Space, which is preparing the light and air solar-powered Stratobus, with its first flight expected in 2021. A HAPS autonomous stratospheric airship, the Stratobus is designed to float 12 miles above the ocean and warn ships below about pirates, shipwrecks and other hazards in congested shipping lanes. The Stratobus is the perfect complement to satellites, says Jean-Philippe Schissel, Stratobus product line manager, Thales Alenia Space. You can add on sensors, captors, and other technologies, making it a kind of Swiss Army knife of innovation in the sky. The Stratobus is due to begin test flights in 2022.